Hello, everybody. Good morning and welcome to That's Football. It's the morning after the night before Liverpool drop points against Everton, and I'm joined by a Liverpool fan, allegedly. Loz, how you doing?
Pretty good. Some people say I'm really a Nottingham Forest fan, but that's still to be confirmed.
I've had these rumours myself. It's a hard life, but it was a hard result. I mean, look, I fundamentally will start off, and then you can come in as a Liverpool fan because I don't know what he's going to say. I don't know what he's going to say, apart from the email of script I sent him before, and also I'll be saying that we've got a producer in the.
We're not real people. Both of us are just scripted characters. You've got to understand that.
100%. No, this is unscripted. I don't know what Loz is going to say, but what I would say is it was a disgrace. I think Liverpool were robbed. But fundamentally, I do think a draw was the right result, even though it came about probably in the wrong circumstances. And it is good for the Premier League title race, unless you're a Liverpool fan. And ultimately, I still think Liverpool will win it. But there's a lot to unpick. The Slot red card, the reaction afterwards. Should it have been a foul on Konate? What are your general thoughts? Because you might be okay with the point, but you might have a few points to make.
So first of all, I'm okay with the point. All right. I think Everton away, tricky ground to go to with David Moyes, especially with a derby. So say City were to look at the start of the season, well, both of the Man United games, how many points we're going to get out of that? Same goes for Arsenal and Spurs, probably same goes for Arsenal and Chelsea. Arsenal have probably got a lot more derbies in that sense than Liverpool have, but Liverpool have got the Manchester clubs, blah, blah, blah. So I feel okay about that. Last game at Goodison, I feel like it's actually quite fitting that both, historically, both teams come away with the same amount of wins, as they didn't stop telling us on the commentary last night. It was
I didn't have to listen to it.
It was the only stat they had for the whole night. It was literally because they certainly didn't look at the foul stats. They certainly didn't look at the free kick stats. And they certainly didn't look at Michael Oliver's employment stats, should we say. So I just think I feel all right with that. The other thing that I dislike is everyone trying to be romantic about poor refereeing decisions and going, well, they were poor refereeing decisions, but it led to a romantic thing happening where the smaller team got to beat the bigger team, didn't they? Despite the fact that Everton's spending far outstripped Liverpool's for years and money was serially misspent. What we're now doing is portraying Everton as some sort of underdog, despite the fact that in their squad, there is still a lot of strength. There are still a lot of technically proficient players, and they're serially, and I can't say it's enough, underachieving for the technical quality they have in that team.
Exactly. Yeah. Look, you know what? I think let's start off with the officiating first, because I do sense that, look, a lot of people spoke about people being sent off, losing their heads. Actually, one of the great things about not having the audio when you're doing a watch along is that you don't have to listen to Rio Ferdinand and Steve McManaman.
You are the only other person that can relate to this, because I used to have this with the kickoff, and for other watch alongs, we couldn't hear the commentary. So you make your own decisions almost uninfluenced by the refs, right?
It's a massive advantage. So when I see, I knew he was going to send Arne Slot off before Arne Slot even shook his hand. I know Michael Oliver, I know how he referees, and I know he's lost control. So people, apparently it was the BBC website described the Arne Slot incident as an uncomfortably long handshake.
It didn't look that long to me. It wasn't. When you watch the clip back, it's not even that long. It's shorter in time than the Thomas Tuchel Conte one. Do you know what I mean? It's shorter in time than you and I probably when we greet and hug each other.
And there's definitely wasn't enough time for him to call him a useless prick or anything like that. No. And obviously every lip reader would have done that. So basically, Arne Slot's been sent off because he shook Michael Oliver's hand for too long.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a reason. Actually, is that not intimidation of the referee? Is that?
But I told you who lost the head and should have been sent off and shouldn't have even been the referee was Michael Oliver.
Right, fair play.
I've seen him. He sent off the Lewis Skelly guy too quickly. He sent off Trossard too quickly. He got on the comms in the Man City Liverpool game last year when Doku had found McAllister and told them, no, definitely not a foul, even though you've got the replays. Definitely not. He is. God knows what he's like as a person, and we can't condone the abuse that he's apparently had, and the police are investigating that. But we can, with total and utter conviction, say he is an appallingly bad referee. Right. We're both old enough, and many people watching this are both old enough to experience human behaviour. And his human behaviour is somebody that is petulant and doesn't take time to think things through and has a massive, massive sense of self-entitlement and a massive sense, he doesn't have any self-awareness. And I think he saw Arne Slot and was like, you do anything that makes me feel like you're better than me and I'm getting my red card out. And
the handshake was it. In his mind, he went, this one's for Coot. And he like bang, and Slot goes, oh, I'm not Jurgen. And it goes from there because he's
it was unnecessary. It was unnecessary. And also it's kicking off everywhere. Who has a big part to play as the referee to calm things down? And he's like, he couldn't even get the funny thing is he couldn't even get the red card out. I don't even think he got the red card out, did he? He was like this, fumbling around, and I thought
it was in his back pocket. Yeah. It was like when you ask Michael to buy you a pint, he goes, oh, where's my wallet, lads? I seem to have left it at home. That's awkward. He'd also left the red card very firmly in his back pocket for most of the night, Mark, which I think most people on either side would have agreed that there was at least one red card in this game, at least from cumulative yellows. Put it that way.
Well, I'm glad you said both sides because I was doing the watch along and I said, look, I cannot subscribe to the fact that Michael Oliver has done Liverpool over or Everton over because I think he's done you both over in numerous. I just think this is actually best in a way to scrutinise the PGMOL because actually he ruined the game. Like he lost control of the game, and I think everybody agreed with that. But the goal at the end. This is the second time this has happened for Liverpool. It happened at Newcastle. That would have been another 4 points. We'll talk about the title race in a minute and how it impacts on it. But look, I can't be a hypocrite on this. I think Konate gets shoved in the back, and I think it's a foul. And people can say it's soft, but I genuinely, every part of me wants to say, no, that's soft because I don't like Liverpool and you don't like Man United, and that's just natural. But I watched it and I went, if I start going down this route, I'm not being true to myself. He clearly gives him a shove in the back when he's in the air, and that stops him heading the ball.
Exactly.
And I don't understand why VAR didn't do anything about it.
They didn't do anything about it. And the main explanation in the press and in the media so far has been that it's because Konate didn't go down or didn't appeal for anything. Now, my main issue with that is how are you meant to, first of all, everyone goes, the main thing that I hear all the time when players go down, Szoboszlai went down at the other end, didn't get a penalty. Salah went down at the other end, didn't get a free kick. By the way, if Salah gets that free kick, that is prime Trent Alexander-Arnold free kick territory. Like that is literally like giving Liverpool a penalty as close as damn it to that, right? I know some people are going to pick issue with that in the comments. So I know Trent misses some free kicks, all right? But he's bloody good on them. Then they also tell you play to the whistle now, mate. You got to play to the whistle. Well, Konate did, and Konate kept playing on. And if the referee refuses to blow the whistle in that moment and then VAR refused to do anything about it, then what are we meant to do? We're just meant to say, well, every time then, Konate is now going to think, right, I don't get it when I try and play on and be honest about the game, even though I was fouled. So now I have to go down in a heap. That's the only recourse that he has. Because otherwise the referee goes, no foul, play on. And this is the thing. You see the clip immediately after, and everyone's going, oh, Slot's having a go at the fourth official or whatever. No, he turns to the fourth official and makes a shoving motion. He's not going, you idiot. He's telling the fourth official that Konate was pushed. It's so blatant. Now, don't get me wrong, incredible strike. Like, if you're going to catch a ball, that's what you want to do at five-a-side. But at the same time, blatant foul. And I think Disgrace, I think he's onside, but that's not the point.
I think, look, great goal, and the game deserved it, and it was great drama. And look, Decore missed two very good chances. I think across the game, a draw was the correct result. But
I agree.
You can't, like you say, you can't not give a free kick because he doesn't make a meal of it, and you can't rule out you can't give a good goal just because you want to ignore a blatant foul. And
I agree.
I understand Everton, and look, we're in the minority. I should be in the majority here. I should be saying definitely not a foul, but I have had a massive issue with officiating, and for me, that's more important than a rivalry with Arsenal or Liverpool or anybody else. And I think that this happened to Liverpool last year against Man City, where it was a blatant penalty. It was Michael Oliver again. I don't know what the audio is, so I can't blame Michael Oliver. When I saw the Doku penalty that wasn't given, I blamed VAR, but then I heard the audio with Michael Oliver going, no, not enough for me, convincing them. If we hear that again in 2 weeks' time, if he goes, no, Konate not pushed enough, then there's a problem. I blame VAR for that. I think that you took ages on an offside that looked onside to me anyway. And then you almost didn't leave yourself enough time to look at the second incident, and so almost went, no, that's not a foul. And actually, you should have been looking at that one, because I think if you'd spent a little bit longer on that, it's two-handed. He's up in the air. He completely gets taken out.
And the player's not, like, earlier on in the game, there was a foul given for Luis Diaz collided with one of their centre-backs and had a foul given against him because he blatantly just wasn't looking at the ball. He was just looking at the defender. And I was like, okay, fair enough. Like, Diaz is just throwing himself around out there. I didn't get the logic behind it.
Well, he booked Gay, didn't he? He booked Idrissa Gay for off the ball, shoving somebody. So
yeah, which, by the way, also was a massive moment in the game because he basically pushed over the paciest player in Liverpool's team. Anyway, cool. He better than shoves him and isn't going for the ball. I think the real issue that we have is I think these referees and the PGMOL are chronically now living online and are being influenced by the media coverage of the referees. So Arsenal fans, even channels like yours, big channels which have an influence on, I don't think they care about whether it was factually right or wrong. I think they care about the opinions and the appearance of being right or being fair rather than actually being right and fair. And what they're doing now, look, Mark, they genuinely influenced the game last night because I think that they get influenced into not giving big decisions, basically going, well, it might look like we favour one team more than the other if we give a heart. Well, maybe it was a foul, but he didn't call it. It's like, come on, God, stupid.
I think if that game had been first 2 minutes of Crystal Palace against Bournemouth,
exactly,
it would have been a foul.
Yeah,
but because it's the last kick of the game in the Merseyside derby with Liverpool and Everton, they've gone, we can't not give this. And that's not, like you say, that's refereeing the event. That's not refereeing the game. And the time and time again, I'm watching, like, there was a handball by Konate that could have been a handball. Sure. And I said, apparently there was a build-up offside, but I said, look, regardless, I can't tell you whether that's a handball because I've seen it given, I've seen it not given, and the inconsistency is so consistent. I actually don't, and I've watched football all my life. It's not an education piece. I just don't know what a handball is anymore. So argue amongst yourselves, because that's how bad the game has been diluted down.
First half of the season, I think that's given. Second half of the season, I don't think that's given, because I think they found out earlier on in the season, when we give this, people think it's not fair, which I think is fair enough. So don't have that given now, a blanket across every team. I think the real point that you made at the start of the podcast, or whatever this is, the video, Liverpool and Everton deserved a draw. And I think that's what we're missing in a lot of the analysis right now. Everton actually played really well, created a lot of good chances. David Moyes has got them playing. Liverpool have been a little bit off now for a little while. Some people saying they look tired. I don't agree with that. I'm a little bit concerned that some of our tactics have been worked out and people now have a bit more of a blueprint as to how to stop us being productive. And we've not quite worked out what to do, because throwing Núñez on, Núñez intimidates no one as a striker anymore. No one's scared of Núñez. The reason he scored against Brentford was because no one was scared of him in that team. And everyone was going, he's back. That's my striker. I'm like, no, it's literally because no one thought he had anything in him and they didn't mark the striker. And the same goes for half the other team. Jota's chronically injured. Like, Liverpool have a bit of a problem now with not having someone in that centre forward position.
It is interesting. I mean, I think the point is that the officiating and some of the decisions afterwards should be discussed by Everton and Liverpool and every other fan. But fundamentally, I think we both agree a draw was the fair result. So there's not really about, I think, 100%. With regards to the league title race, I actually think the more significant result yesterday for you and Arsenal was obviously the loss of Havertz for the rest of the season. Now, I don't think he's really the best forward in the world, but he's better than nothing. And Arsenal find themselves with nothing because they didn't do anything in the transfer window. 7 points clear now. That game in hand has gone. Weirdly, you'll have a game more this time next week because you'll have played that Villa game in anticipation of your Carabao Cup final. Wolves at the weekend. Then you've got Villa away, Man City away.
Tricky runs.
Any concerns about this title race? Because my personal feeling is that, and I've said it for a long time, yeah, Liverpool might dip a bit. They might drop a few points. But as long as Man City are completely out of it, and they are, there is no club that has the ability to consistently go and win the games. And I certainly don't believe Arsenal have it.
Well, I think warm weather training tends to make a big change to Arsenal, doesn't it? For some weird reason, that team love going to Dubai.
But they're coming back with more injuries, aren't they? That's the problem. Martinelli's out as well.
Sure.
I could see them dropping points at Leicester on Saturday. I really could. I think that's just the sort of game where they'll have 99% possession and 50 corners and just not put the ball in the back of the net.
I think that your point stands either way, whether they drop the points to Leicester or whether they drop the points to anyone else in this run. I don't think Liverpool or Arsenal have still got an easy run, and Liverpool and Arsenal still have to play each other. Arsenal still actually weirdly have to go away to Everton. They still have got some really tricky fixtures in there. I think Everton will probably roll over for Arsenal. But
Old Trafford.
Old Trafford. I mean, but you laugh about that. But I think a lot of us, what we're not thinking about is the cumulative effect of playing intense games throughout a season. And
Champions League as well.
Champions League, going away to Old Trafford, all these kind of, it builds up. It's a game of attrition. It's not just like, oh, well, they won that one, therefore they'll win the rest. I don't think Liverpool or Arsenal, before now and the end of the season, win every game. I think both of them have got at least 2 draws, 2 losses in them. More, probably.
Yeah, and that's why I say, look, Man City are dreadful this season, and hallelujah to that. But I've always said, I think we've said it on here, if they were within 7 points of you, I'd say
fear it.
They only need to do what they've done in previous years and they can win 10 in a row, and that becomes a problem. I think if there was a team behind Liverpool that I looked at and went, they could win 10 of their next 12, I'd go,
Chelsea.
Ooh. Well, they've got an injury now to Jackson, haven't they? So they're going to struggle to score. Oh, I mean, Chelsea, I mean, their last 2 months has been really, really poor, hasn't it?
It's been really up and down. I'm just looking at the Premier League table now. I mean, Forest are within 10 points of Liverpool. Chelsea are within 14 points of Liverpool. Is 16 points insurmountable for Man City? Are we genuinely saying, are you making the call today, Mark? Man City, say it conclusively here, are out of the title race?
100%. I mean, look, I'm old enough to remember when Newcastle blew a 12-point lead, and it certainly wasn't in the middle of February. Yeah, that is, and also they're just not playing well enough. I mean, they've got you and Newcastle at home coming up. I don't think they win both of those games based on what I saw against Chelsea and Arsenal. So,
what about against the Real Madrid though? Do you not think Man City takes some points off Liverpool? Because if City perform in the way that they performed against Real Madrid, Liverpool aren't exactly Madrid right now, are they? I don't know. I think there's a twist. There's a sting in the tail of this season.
I still think that Liverpool are begrudgingly the best team in the Premier League, even today. And I also think you can't discount the Salahs, the Van Dijks, the Trents, the Robertsons, the Allisons. And also, in addition to that, you've got the McAllisters who've stepped into that.
He was great, by the way.
Yeah.
He's really stepped up. And like last night, you could see why he's an international. You see how he's a World Cup winner. The guy I think he was my man of the match.
So, yeah, I mean, I just don't. But I was interested to see as a Liverpool fan, obviously you don't count your chickens, but I've been counting them since December. That I just don't, I don't think there's anybody out there that can push them. And Arsenal fans are living in hope. I mean, they would really, if that goal doesn't go in from Tarkowski, Arsenal fans on our live chat were basically, that's it. They'd given up. So they're that close. They've got one draw, not even a loss, one draw, and it's gone really.
Arsenal's fixtures between now and the end of the season, I'm sure you've done this on a live stream. There are some tricky ones in there, but there are also some pretty easy points. Like their last day of the season, they've got Southampton away. That's potentially big. They've got Newcastle. They've got a tricky run, basically. Last 4 games, they've got Bournemouth, Arsenal, and Newcastle in the last 4 games.
Playing themselves.
Sorry.
That should be an easy win, I think.
Bournemouth, Liverpool, and Newcastle. Yeah, they actually play Arsenal.
I looked at that Liverpool game. I think it's a shame it's so late because.
Do you not think that could be?
I'd be amazed if the title wasn't won by then.
So with that's the 10th of May at the moment. Obviously, that might change. That might move to a Sunday. 10th of May. Do you think that the title will be done? Because imagine Arsenal win that one away at Anfield, and then there's 2 more games within which Liverpool have to win and do something.
So if it was a 7-point gap going into that game, it's not over, obviously.
And then they've done 4.
I can't see that 7-point gap coming down. So I think it might be the game where you win the league, because if you draw it, 7 points can't be done in 2. So
interesting. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. That's why they're paying the big bucks, folks. That's why they're paying the big bucks.
I think it'll be done by then. I think it should have been done by then. I mean,
if we'd have won last night, it would have been done by then, I think. But we didn't.
Yeah, 9 points. But and you've got the inferior goal difference. I mean, look, going back to Arsenal, you talk about them getting wins, and I know people like Gabriel become very important for goals in this scenario, and it's about clean sheets and grinding it out. But there's inevitably going to be the Everton where they just can't put the ball in the back of the net, or they make a defensive error and then they put themselves under pressure. The games where Everton are going to, Arsenal are going to struggle is if they go behind 1-0 and then it's suddenly shit. How are we going to score 2 goals from this position? You know.
It's a tricky one. Although the next few games, I think what we see them get closer to Liverpool, as Liverpool have got a tricky run and they've got a rather simple, straightforward run. They've got Leicester, West Ham. The Forest away is a tricky one. They've got Man United away. Predict that score now.
Man United, Arsenal.
Man United, Arsenal. Arsenal away at Old Trafford.
It's the sort of game we would win. I mean, we beat them in the cup, didn't we? We drew with you in the league. So it's the sort of, I mean, look, Man United get up for those games.
Yeah.
Like if it's Fulham at home, we're going to get beat. But if it's, we've got them in the cup actually.
Yeah.
But actually, I was going to ask you about that. The FA Cup, you're out. Nothing's going to change that.
I'm out and proud.
But yeah, it's an interesting FA Cup when you think about the Fulhams, the Bournemouths, the Brightons, the Nottingham Forests, and then you've got really Man United and Man City as the traditional top 6, with Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal, Spurs out. As much as Man United winning it would be great, if we don't win it, and I don't think we will, I'd love to see a Bournemouth or a Fulham or a Forest or a Brighton win it.
I also think, given the brilliant media focus on things like the Championship playoffs, I think this shows when you do not have a big team in there, but someone can go on a good run, play good football, the Bournemouths, those kind of guys. I'd much prefer like a Bournemouth-Newcastle final over Bournemouth-Man United or someone like that.
Well, I was talking to a Villa fan this morning, and 2 Villa fans actually on separate occasions.
Why'd you do that?
Just taking Seb to school, went to the shop, saw one Villa fan, and then walked back and saw another one. And obviously they're fans of this show, and they said their regards, obviously. But we're talking about Villa. One of the Villa fans said, I just really want to win the FA Cup. And I said, that's interesting, because I think your owners really want to get in the Champions League again, because it's so much money and that's what they've done it for. And he was like, no, I just want to win the FA Cup. And I said, I patted him on the back. I said, well done. He said, what's that all about? I don't normally like physical contact, but I appreciate it. And I went, no, just because I think that the Fulhams and the Villas, if you win that FA Cup, you will remember that for the rest of your life. But if you finish in the top 4, you remember it for a couple of years until you do it again. And I think that like we see it in the FA Cup a lot, where it really annoys me where you see Crystal Palace putting their reserves out and you go, but look at this cup now. There's so many big teams out. You might have a really rubbish season where you finish in the bottom half of the Premier League, but you might have won an FA Cup, which gets you in the Europa League, but also gives you a piece of silverware.
Financially, it kills them though if they don't stay in the Premier League and go down. But I guess if you're Villa or someone like that, Villa are 6 points off the top 4 right now. That's not insurmountable. They're a strong side who've just reinforced. I don't think Champions League football's not beyond them.
Who do you think actually? Go on, sorry.
No, they just should be able to do both. You know, they're in the Premier League.
I think top 5 will be Champions League this year. I mean, we dropped the ball last year. Everybody did so bad in Europe, from the Conference League to the Champions League.
Yeah,
I think the way things are going this year, Man United and Spurs have got to take the Europa League seriously. Chelsea will probably win the Conference League with their reserves. And obviously Liverpool, Arsenal and Villa, Man City are going to go out, we think, should do okay. I think we'll get 5th place. So if there's 5 teams going in the Champions League next year, who would you have in your top 5, presuming obviously Liverpool and Arsenal are pretty much nailed on?
So Liverpool, Arsenal, do we dislike or like Forest in the Champions League next year? Because they're a strong team who could get some good results, but do they get out of the league format? If it's still the group format where it's like, 4 versus 4, I think they get through that. I think Forest getting through the league format is a little bit harder for them.
I think it's a bit like, didn't Burnley get in Europe with Sean Dyche years ago?
Yeah,
and exactly. It doesn't work. It's great for them. It's great for Forest fans. It's great for Burnley fans. Absolutely. But you will sink. Your big problem next year will be staying up, because you will be so stretched. You'll be like Stretch Armstrong. Yeah. And it's a competitive league, and you'll suddenly be like, shit, we're in the bottom 4. But it'd be great for them to do it, but they'll drop like a stone unless they invest massively to do
which they might do. If they get in the Champions League, what if they were looking to cement their place there? Yeah. Chelsea, I think, make it. Do Man City make it? I actually think Newcastle and even Villa are ahead of Man City for making it, just because I think it could destroy Man City's confidence. I think Man City overall just looks so brittle right now. I think there's a real Man City are never going to sack Pep, but there is a very real possibility that Pep goes, it's not, this isn't my, I can't do this anymore.
I think Pep's gone in the summer anyway. I said this in October, and when he signed the new contract, I just said, well, he's got to, because all we hear every week is Pep going to go? Is Pep going to go? Is Pep going to go? And it's like they were getting bad results at the time. So I actually said they need to do something to stop the bad results, and they did. And then the results carried on. So I just think that was a cover up to just quieten it down, because he really probably should go. But I still think Liverpool, Arsenal, top 2, Chelsea, Man City, I agree with. 5th place, I don't know what order they'll be in, but the 5th place, I would say.
You saying Forest drop away then?
Yeah. I've been writing them off all year. I mean, they are 10 points ahead of Villa. So for me to put Villa ahead of Forest is a 10-point shift.
Yeah,
that is incredible, actually, when you look at that.
In the last 14 games.
They might sneak it, They might sneak it. But
I think they at least
maybe
get
Newcastle, maybe Newcastle.
I think Newcastle. I think probably possibly Newcastle ahead of City, considering.
I think City will get it. The quality and the goals of Haaland surely do it. Yeah.
I just wonder if
especially being out of the Champions League, having a week off.
Yeah, just to be able to concentrate on that. I get that.
Let's concentrate on 5th place. So that was the aim at the start of the season.
That's what they said.
At the 115. Anything with 5 in it, 115 and 5th. Yes.
Right. Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah. God love them. Having said that, I've still got to play
the outcome of that to come as well.
That I wonder if there is an implication from that, whether there is like the players know what's going on, or the players know there's something going on, or.
Well, it's like all that money they spent in January. I mean, because it's Man City, everyone goes whatever, but that's an incredible amount of money, £200 million, and you do think, is that just they know they're going to get off, so let's buy a load of players here and in the summer and go for it, or is it we think we're going to get a ban, let's buy a load of players and this? Yeah. I still don't think you can read the situation, and there's so many people out there that act like they know, and I really don't think they do.
I agree. I mean, even if they do, they can't say it anyway. So
lovely stuff. I want to get it out because we want to get it's Thursday.
what a stream.
Because I want the comments to be about the Liverpool game because it's still fresh. But absolute pleasure to have you on, Loz, as ever, and especially as a Liverpool fan, and ultimately as well next week. It will literally be the morning after the Villa game as well, which could be another big one.
Yeah, it seems that this. I'm always talking to you. Oh no, I did. We started our podcast the night after Liverpool beat Real Madrid at Anfield. So
you will have some Champions League nights. Don't forget about that. You still got that, and you've still got a title race. I mean, God, it must be hard.
It is a race.
They say nurses have it hard, and Liverpool fans are moaning.
God, yeah, terrible for us though.
Thanks everyone for watching. Get your comments in below, and we'll speak to you next week.